The city did not wake up that morning. It flinched. Not because of thunder. Not because of gunshots. Not even because of sirens. It flinched because fear arrived before dawn. Market women who had survived riots, recessions, and soldiers, stood at their usual corners and suddenly stopped. One by one, they folded their umbrellas. Hands that normally argued over space trembled as they packed tomatoes and pepper back into baskets. No shouting. No bargaining. Just silence. Danfo drivers crossed themselves twice before starting their engines. Some started the engines, then switched them off again. Others turned around entirely, muttering prayers they hadn't said since childhood. Even the dogs noticed. Those fearless street dogs that chased tires and slept through chaos suddenly moved differently, heads low, eyes alert, as if something unseen had passed through the streets and whispered a warning. Something had changed. At exactly 6:12 a.m., the video appeared. No announcement. No warning. Just a notification, and then another, and then thousands more. A powerful politician, one whose name alone could close mouths, was kneeling in the rain. Not in a courtroom. Not before a judge. Not surrounded by lawyers. He was kneeling in the open street. Rain soaked his expensive suit. Mud-stained shoes bought with stolen money. His hands shook as he spoke, not reading from a script, not denying, not deflecting. He confessed. Hospitals stripped of funds. Witnesses who disappeared overnight. Deals made where human lives were just numbers. Behind him stood masked figures. They did not move. They did not speak. They simply watched. The politician finished speaking. The screen went black. Then white letters appeared, slowly, deliberately, as if carved into stone. The weaver is watching. The city erupted. Phones buzzed non-stop. Office workers abandoned desks. Bus conductors shouted updates instead of destinations. Names once whispered behind closed doors were now spoken boldly in public. Inside police headquarters, confusion reigned. Senior officers shouted orders that contradicted each other. Files disappeared from desks. Servers crashed without explanation. Men who once walked with swagger now wiped sweat from their faces. On the 7th floor, Sergeant Smith Adiemi stood alone by a window. He had worn the badge for over 20 years. 20 years of believing in procedure. 20 years of believing corruption was the exception, not the rule. 20 years of believing the system could be fixed from inside. He watched the city twist beneath him. "Not on my watch," he said quietly. But the watch was already broken. Smith turned away from the window as his phone vibrated. Unknown number. One message. "You are standing on a lie." His jaw tightened. Smith deleted the message. He told himself it was nothing. Just another agitator. Another attention seeker. Outside, sirens wailed louder. Inside, something shifted, small, almost invisible. A crack. And deep beneath the city, where forgotten tunnels breathed secrets into the dark, a loom tightened its threads. Because the city believed it had witnessed justice. But it had only witnessed the beginning. The call came while the city was still holding its breath. Before dawn, before alarms, before the world remembered how to be noisy again. Sergeant Smith Adiemi's phone buzzed once on the nightstand, sharp, impatient. He read the message in the glow of the screen, eyes narrowing as the words sank in. Anonymous tip. Warehouse near the old railway line. Illegal weapons. Armed suspects. High priority. Smith read it again. Then a third time, slower. He didn't ask who sent it. He never did. Some officers believed in procedure, paper trails, confirmations, permissions stacked neatly on permission. Smith believed in momentum. In acting before doubt could crawl in and make itself comfortable. That belief had carried him upward, promotions earned quickly, commendations signed without hesitation, the quiet approval of superiors who liked men that moved fast and asked questions later. Within minutes, engines roared awake. Blue lights carved violent streaks through the sleeping streets as patrol cars tore forward. The city barely stirred. The warehouse waited by the tracks like a forgotten animal, hawking, rust-eaten, its windows shattered long ago. Silence clung to it unnaturally, thick and watchful. Smith raised his fist. The team halted instantly. Then he lowered it. Move. The door exploded inward. Boots thundered across concrete. Flashlights slashed through the darkness. Police. On the ground. Now. The silence shattered. Men shouted. Crates tipped and spilled. Metal rang as weapons hit the floor. It all unfolded too cleanly, too synchronized. The suspects complied with an efficiency that made Smith's stomach tighten. That's when he felt it. An itch at the base of his neck. The kind you get when eyes are on you and shouldn't be. A figure broke from the back of the warehouse, sprinting for the rear exit. Stop! Smith shouted, already moving. He chased the suspect into a narrow corridor that smelled of oil, rust, and old sweat. Their footsteps ricocheted off the walls, the sound sharp and urgent. Smith's breathing stayed steady. His focus narrowed. This was familiar. This was where he was strongest. The suspect glanced back once. And smiled. Smith raised his weapon. Police. On the ground. The man laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not fear. Amusement. Smith's radio crackled. Static first. Then a voice, calm, close, almost affectionate. Slow down, Smiley. The word tilted. Smith stopped short, his heart slamming against his ribs. Smiley. No one used that name anymore. It didn't exist in records or reports or the carefully edited version of his past. It belonged to a boy who smiled too easily. A boy whose mother said sadness couldn't survive where he was. A boy who had lost everything. Smith's grip loosened. Just for a heartbeat. When he lunged forward again, the corridor was empty. The suspect was gone, swallowed by a door that opened into nothing but darkness. Backup arrived moments later. Too late. Questions followed. Smith answered them smoothly. Confidently. His explanations sounded right even to him. But something had shifted. That night, he returned home long after midnight. The hallway lights flickered overhead, casting nervous shadows. His apartment door stood ajar. Not broken. Open. Smith drew his gun and stepped inside. Darkness. Silence. Nothing was missing. His laptop untouched. Files undisturbed. His service weapon still where he'd left it earlier. Then he saw the wall. Charcoal letters, thick and deliberate. Written slowly. Carefully. By someone who wanted him to feel every word. Big brother, do you still believe in justice? The air rushed out of Smith's lungs. His legs gave way. He slid down the wall, his gun clattering uselessly to the floor. Someone had been inside his life. Someone who knew his past. His childhood. His name before the badge. Outside, the city slept. Uneasy, unaware. Inside, Smith understood something far worse than fear. This wasn't a warning. It was an invitation. That night, Sergeant Smith learned a single, irreversible truth. The hunt had changed. And this time, the hunter was not alone. By daylight, Zoe Adeyemi looked like a miracle no one questioned. She moved through the neighborhood the way morning light slipped through cracked shutters, easy, familiar, welcome. Her laughter rang out above the grind of engines and shouting vendors, bright enough to make heads turn. Children ran toward her with scraped knees and wide smiles. Parents lifted hands in greeting, not suspicion. Not fear. Zoe made broken things work again. She fixed laptops with missing keys and frayed wires, refusing payment with a smile that made arguments feel rude. She covered school fees quietly, leaving no name behind. She spoke to street boys crouched on corners and told them, softly, firmly, that hunger was not their destiny. They called her Auntie Zoe. Her community hub lived inside a repurposed warehouse, its walls drowned in color, yellows, blues, mirrors painted over rust and history. Inside, teenagers learned how to write code, how to mix beats, how to imagine futures larger than the streets that shaped them. Sometimes, after long shifts, Smith watched from across the road, leaning against his car with his collar loosened and exhaustion sitting heavy on his shoulders. She reminded him of their parents. Of lessons whispered late at night about kindness, responsibility, and lifting others when you could. That was why the unease unsettled him. It crept in slowly. Zoe mentioning arrest before they made the news. Warning him, casually, gently, to stay clear of certain officers, never explaining why. Leaving home late at night and returning before dawn, her eyes sharp, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. One evening, she poured tea they never drank and said, almost absently, "Be careful who you trust." Smith laughed it off. "I trust the badge." Zoe smiled. But there was no humor in it. No pride. Only something close to grief. The night Smith followed her, the rain scrubbed the city raw. He told himself it was instinct. Professional habit. A brother's concern. The lies came easily now, too easily. Zoe walked fast, hood pulled low, slipping through side streets she knew like muscle memory. She never looked back. Not once. She stopped at the abandoned cinema on Edge Road, condemned, forgotten, already promised to demolition crews. Smith waited. Counted his breaths. Then he followed. Inside, dust floated thick in the air. Movie posters from another lifetime peeled from the walls, their smiling faces warped by age. Zoe vanished behind the torn projection screen. Smith found the door beneath it. And the stairs that led underground. The room below hummed like a living thing. Screens glowed across concrete walls. Fingers danced over keyboards with purpose. Men who once ruled street corners now stood alert and disciplined. Women who sold pepper and tomatoes murmured strategy like seasoned commanders. Young faces. Angry, brilliant, overlooked, tracked data streams and surveillance feeds with unblinking focus. This was not disorder. This was design. At the center of it all stood Zoe. Gone was the laughter. Gone was the softness. Her voice was calm. Precise. Absolute. Release the files in stages, she said. Let them deny it first. Truth hurts more when it arrives slowly. A voice answered from the shadows. Yes, Madam Weaver. Smith's chest tightened. Madam Weaver. The name echoed through him like a gunshot. The symbol. The message. The words burned into his wall. Zoe wasn't a participant. She was the architect. Smith stepped back, his heart pounding so loudly he feared it would give him away. His sister. The girl he helped raise. The one he promised, on his parents' graves, to protect. She turned slightly, as if sensing the shift in the air. Smith retreated before she could see him. Outside, the rain soaked through his uniform. Inside, something broke that could not be repaired. Later, alone in his apartment, Smith stared at the charcoal words still staining the wall. Big brother. At last, he understood. This had never been about crime. It was about blood. That night, Sergeant Smith faced a truth more dangerous than any criminal he had ever hunted. The enemy wore his sister's face. And she had been weaving this story long before he ever knew. Smith did not sleep that night. The city outside his apartment breathed uneasily, as if it too had learned the secret it could not forget. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow felt closer. Across the room, the charcoal words still stained the wall. "Big brother, do you still believe in justice?" Smith stared at them until his eyes burned. By morning, he had made a decision. He would not run. He would not report it. He would face it. Zoe arrived just after noon. She knocked once. Not nervous. Not hesitant. Smith opened the door and stepped aside without a word. The apartment felt smaller with her inside, as though the walls themselves were listening. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Zoe looked at the writing on the wall. Then at Smith. "So," she said quietly, "you know." Smith's voice came out rough. "How long?" Zoe exhaled slowly. "Longer than you want to hear." They sat across from each other at the small table where they once did homework as children. The same table their mother used to iron clothes on Sundays. The same table their father drank tea at before work. Smith felt his chest tighten. "You're the weaver," he said. Zoe nodded. "No excuses. No denial." Smith slammed his hand on the table. "You're destroying the city." Zoe didn't flinch. "No," she said calmly. "I'm showing it what it already is." Then she told him everything. Their parents had not died in a car accident. That story had been written for convenience. The truth was uglier. Their mother worked in records. Their father testified in court. Together, they discovered evidence tying powerful men to stolen funds and murdered witnesses. They refused to falsify it. They refused to look away. So they were silenced, Zoe said, her voice steady but her hands trembling slightly. "Killed quietly. Cleanly." Smith shook his head. "No," he whispered. "I would have known." Zoe met his eyes. "You trusted the badge." Smith's stomach dropped. "The case was buried," she continued. "By your department. The evidence altered. The file closed." Smith felt dizzy. "My mentor," he began. Zoe nodded. He signed off on it. Smith's memories twisted painfully, commendations, promotions, quiet praise. He suddenly saw them differently. Blood money didn't smell. "You chose the badge," Zoe said softly. "I chose the truth." Smith stood abruptly, pacing. "You think this fixes anything?" he snapped. "Exposing people like this? You'll get killed." Zoe looked at him then. Not as the weaver, not as a leader, but as his little sister. "I already died once," she said. "The day they killed our parents." Smith's anger collapsed into something else. Guilt. He had been there when the case closed. Young. Proud. Silent. He had believed the lie because it was easier. "You used me," he said. Zoe's eyes softened. "I protected you." Smith laughed bitterly. "By turning me into the villain." Zoe stood. "By keeping you alive." She moved toward the door. Smith grabbed her arm. "If this is true," he said, voice shaking, "then everything I am is built on blood." Zoe pulled free gently. "Then decide," she said. "Will you keep wearing it, or finally look underneath?" She left. The door closed softly. Smith sank back into the chair, breath shallow, mind screaming. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, Sergeant Smith Adeyemi finally understood. Justice had never been blind. It had been bought. That day, a good man learned the truth about the badge he wore. And once blood stains the truth, it never washes out. After Zoe left, Smith did not move for a long time. The chair felt heavier than it ever had. The air in the room felt borrowed. Even the badge on his chest felt foreign. He stared at it. That small piece of metal had shaped his life, defined his morals, given him a name people respected. And now it felt like a lie pinned to his heart. Smith did not cry. He did not shout. Instead, he did what he had always done when the world made no sense. He went to work. But this time, not openly. Not officially. That night, long after headquarters emptied and cleaners moved quietly through hallways, Smith returned. He used old access codes, familiar shortcuts. He walked with the confidence of someone who belonged. No one stopped him. That, in itself, scared him. He pulled the old case file. His parents' case. The one marked closed in bold red ink. Smith flipped through the pages slowly. Witness statements didn't match timelines. Photographs were mislabeled. Evidence logs were incomplete. At first, it felt like coincidence. Then it felt like intention. He cross-checked digital records. Then backups. Then backups of backups. The deeper he went, the worse it became. Names he respected appeared in signatures. Officers he trusted had approved edits. A familiar name sat at the center of it all. His mentor. The man who taught him how to salute. How to shoot. How to understand how things really work. Smith's hands trembled. Every promotion suddenly felt dirty. Every commendation felt purchased. Every good job echoed like mockery. His rise in the force hadn't been coincidence. It had been convenient. Smith leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. If Zoe was right, and she was, then the system wasn't broken. It was functioning exactly as designed. And now, it had noticed him looking too closely. Smith froze. A shadow passed beneath the office door. Then another. Smith shut down the computer, heart pounding. Too late. His phone buzzed. Private line. One message. Stop digging. Another buzz. This is your only warning. Smith didn't reply. He left quietly. The ambush came the next night. No sirens. No badges. Just headlights cutting through darkness. Smith was driving home when a truck rammed his car from behind. Glass shattered. Metal screamed. He reached for his gun. Too slow. A figure approached. Then, gunfire. The attacker fell. Smith gasped, spinning toward the sound. Zoe stood there. Gun smoking. Eyes sharp. Get up, she said. We don't have time. Smith stared at her. You knew. Zoe nodded. I always know. They disappeared into the night as police sirens finally arrived, too late, as usual. In a safe house beneath the city, Zoe patched Smith's wounds. You could have walked away, she said quietly. Smith laughed bitterly. Too late. Zoe met his eyes. They've chosen you now. Smith exhaled. So what happens? Zoe's voice was calm. Now, she said, the system tries to kill you. Smith nodded slowly. Then spoke the words that changed everything. Then I stopped being a good officer. Zoe smiled, not with joy, but with recognition. Welcome, she said, to the truth. That night, Sergeant Smith Adeyemi crossed a line he could never return from. The system had made its choice. And now, so had he. A city can forgive many things. It can forgive poverty. It can forgive noise. It can even forgive corruption. If corruption is quiet. But it does not forgive exposure. When the weaver pulled harder on her threads, the city did not explode. It turned. Not with fire. With memory. It began quietly. A document uploaded at 2:14 a.m. A video posted, deleted, then reposted by thousands. A councilman denying everything. Followed by audio of his own voice saying the opposite. A police unit praised for bravery. Then footage surfaced of them planting evidence. No speeches. No warnings. Just proof. The city watched. The city listened. And then, the city remembered. People gathered in places they usually rushed past. Under bridges. Outside police stations. In front of government buildings that once felt untouchable. They didn't carry weapons. They carried phones. And they chanted a single name. Weaver. 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 Inside police headquarters, something broke. Trust evaporated. Officers stopped sharing information. Partners eyed each other like strangers. Files vanished. Accusations flew across hallways like bullets. Who leaked this? Who talked? Who's next? Sergeant Smith Adeyemi watched from the margins. He no longer walked openly. He changed routes. Changed phones. Kept his head down. But he still wore the badge. And the badge made him visible. One morning, Smith was summoned upstairs. The top floor. The room with no windows. No greetings. No smiles. You've been compromised, one voice said. Another followed. You are hereby ordered to locate and apprehend the individual known as the Weaver. Smith stood still. Then the final words landed. Dead or alive. His sister's face flashed in his mind. Then his parents. Then his own reflection in the badge. Yes, sir, Smith replied. Because that was the last lie he would ever tell them. Outside, the city grew louder. Protests multiplied. Helicopters circled like vultures. Posters appeared overnight, spray-painted looms, threads, watching eyes. Children chopped the symbol on sidewalks. Market women whispered, maybe this time. And beneath the city, in rooms forgotten by maps, Zoe watched everything unfold. The city is awake, someone said. Zoe nodded. But it's not ready yet. Smith arrived in secret. They stood across from each other. No longer just siblings. Not yet enemies. They've ordered me to kill you, Smith said. I know, Zoe replied. A long silence. Then why are you still here? She asked. Smith's voice didn't shake. Because if I do it their way, the truth dies with you. Zoe studied him. Then nodded once. Plans shifted. The weaver stopped hiding. She let rumors spread. Let shadows be seen. Let the city believe the hunt was closing in. Police checkpoints multiplied. Armed patrols flooded the streets. The government promised order. But order had already slipped. That night, Smith stood on a rooftop, staring at a city split in two. Law on one side. Justice on the other. And him. Standing between them. His phone buzzed. One message. Tomorrow. Noon. Public. Smith closed his eyes. He knew. By noon, the city was holding its breath. News vans lined the streets. Cameras waited like predators. Reporters rehearsed words they didn't yet understand. Inside police headquarters, officers stood too straight. Every phone buzzed with the same rumor. The weaver is coming. Sergeant Smith Adeyemi stood at the front desk in full uniform. Pressed shirt. Polished boots. Badge gleaming. He felt every eye on him. At 12:07 p.m., a black car stopped. The door opened. Zoe stepped out. No mask. No disguise. No fear. Just her. Phones rose like a forest of glass. Zoe walked forward calmly. Hands visible. Eyes steady. She looked only at Smith. "I'm here to surrender," she said. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Smith swallowed. "On what charges?" he asked. "All of them," Zoe replied. The cuffs closed around her wrists. The city exhaled. Some cheered. Some cried. Some watched in silence, unsure whether they had witnessed justice or sacrifice. Inside, Smith removed the cuffs. "You know this doesn't end it," he said. Zoe leaned forward slightly. "That was never the plan." Across the city. At that exact moment. Servers ignited. Files unlocked. Timed releases activated. Confessions surfaced. Bank records spilled into daylight. Names fell like dominoes. The city didn't burn. It revealed. Phones ran unanswered. Men who never bowed lowered their heads. Smith's phone buzzed endlessly. He didn't look. "They'll promote you," Zoe said quietly. "They'll call you a hero." "And you?" Smith asked. Zoe smiled, peaceful. "I'll be exactly where I need to be." They came for her. As she was taken away, Zoe looked back once. Truth doesn't need freedom to survive. She was gone. The city did not celebrate that night. It washed. By morning, headlines flooded every screen. Ministers stepping aside. Executives assisting investigations. Generals retiring early. Clean words. Messy truths. And at the center of it all, one image. Sergeant Smith Adiemi. Standing straight. Badge shining. They called him a hero. Smith felt nothing. The promotion came fast. Too fast. At the ceremony, applause filled the hall. Smith scanned the crowd. Smiles that didn't reach eyes. Men who survived because someone else didn't. That night, Smith visited Zoe. "You planned this," he said. "Of course," she replied gently. "You used me." "No," Zoe said. "I trusted you." She leaned forward. "I was never meant to escape. Movements survive symbols, not disappearances." Smith's chest tightened. "You were never meant to save me," Zoe continued. "You were meant to make them believe." Smith understood. Her capture wasn't the end. It was the proof. Weeks later, the city moved again. New faces. New promises. But on walls, fresh symbols appeared. A loom. A thread. An eye. Smith stopped beneath one. Touched the wall. And realized. He was no longer a protector. He was a witness. Justice was served. But it wasn't innocent. It came with blood beneath the badge. And truth that refused to stay buried. The city stretches into the distance. And somewhere, even behind walls, the thread remains unbroken. The weaver lives. Thank you for watching. And for staying with us until the very end. If this story moved you, if it made you think, or feel, or see the world a little differently, please like this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. And subscribe to African Tales of Nubia. For more powerful stories like this. Your support keeps these stories alive. Until the next tale.